The most important factor out of all this is you're not buying developers' profit. Okay? By being a micro developer, you're developing the property, you're generating the equity, and the equity is yours. If you turn that around and you buy an established property, you're paying full price. The equity that you're making as a developer, you're paying for. Okay, let's look at the three options that are available to you, and that's to buy established, buy off the plan, or build to develop. Okay, let's work on, say, $500,000 as a purchase price with $100,000 worth of deposit. Whether it's your own, you've loaned that from your parents, grandparents, it doesn't matter. Let's just work on $100,000 because that equates to 20%. Banks now will want 20% equity. Okay, so if you're purchasing for $500,000, 20% deposit, you get a loan for $400,000. Let's work on buying established at $500,000. So you're buying established, $100,000 deposit, $400,000 K loan. Okay, so you buy $500,000 worth of property. You got stamp duty, which equals roughly $18,000 on top of your $500,000. So where do you get your $18,000? So it's your $100,000 deposit plus $18,000. The minute you move in, what profit have you made? You bought it for $500,000. You've got $100,000 deposit. You've had to pay $18,000 in stamp duty. The minute you've walked in that door, equity or profit equals zero. Big fat zero. Okay? How do you generate profit and equity in buying established? I've got the perfect formula. Foolproof. You know what it is? Time. 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, 10 years, don't know. It depends on the market. And if we're in a market where we are in now, it's going to take a long time. So in 5 years' time, say your property goes up 10%. 10% on 500,000 is only 50,000. Not very good return, is it? Okay, that's 10%. Let's do 20%. 20% same as your deposit. That's 100,000. Over 5 years, that's $20,000 a year. Think it's good money? Maybe yes. So that's the scenario of established property. Okay, the second option we discussed is buying off the plan, which is positive only in a rising market. Okay, why rising market? Because you might buy for $500,000 today, and by the time you're ready to settle, it might be worth $550,000. If the market goes that way. So let's look at buying off the plan. So when you buy off the plan, you're buying something you can't see. Why do developers need you to buy off the plan? Is because they need pre-sales. Because most banks now will want 50% of pre-sales for the developer to start. It's called risk. They're limiting their risk. So they provide you with incentives. So there might be a 5% discount. And we're also working off the model of purchasing for $500,000. You've still got the same stamp duty as buying established, okay, about $18,000. And you still come up with your 10% deposit. Okay, so, sorry, your 20% deposit, my apologies, which is $100,000. They'll only want maybe a 5% deposit, and then the rest has to be at settlement. The biggest disadvantage you can have with buying off the plan is the project might not get off the ground. Why? Because if they don't achieve enough pre-sales, the project goes nowhere. If it takes too long, then what they have is a sunset clause where they have to refund you your money and the whole project gets cancelled. So you might sit there for 12 months, nothing happening, your friends are doing something over there, they're ready to move in, and you still don't even know if the project's getting off the ground. Okay, so they're the risks, and the risk is you're saving 5%. 10% of 500 is 50, 5% is 25 grand. So you're buying that for 475, but you don't know when you're going to start. And if you do start, how long is it going to take? Have they got the right builder? Is the project going to get completed? There are too many variables. Okay, so we're going to talk about our third option, which I feel is the most profitable option, is the build to develop micro developer model. Now, not everyone can be a developer, and not everyone's got $4 million to do a big 10-unit development. Fully understand that. But you can be one of 10. All we're trying to do, generate equity by you being a developer. And by being a developer, you keep the developer's profit. If you saw in my previous example, buying established, you're virtually buying the developer's profit. Okay? So we work on the same scenario, the same figures of a end value of $500,000. Now this is not the purchase price because you're not buying, you're developing. Okay? So the mindset has to be grassroots, purchase land and develop. So in this exercise we're talking about end value, not purchase price. Alright? So it's still $500,000. You have got pre-approval for $400,000. In this scenario, as build to develop, which can be for a first home buyer, it can be for an investor, and it can be for a downsizer retiree, because it all equates to generating equity, and that equity doesn't cost you any money. You don't pay for that, you generate it. That's what developers do. That's why developers make money. They make money out of equity. This is what build to develop is. Okay? So if something costs you $400,000, which is your pre-approval, and it's valued by the bank at $500,000, the difference is $100,000. That's equity. Equity if you retain it, and profit if you want to sell it. It doesn't matter. It's either either. Okay? So that $100,000 you just generated by being a micro developer, spending 18 months in developing this project. Okay? 18 months compared to possibly 4, 5, 6 years time. Okay? So time is against you when you buy established. Time is with you when you're a micro developer. Okay? So in summary, comparing all the three models, we've got to look at the micro developer as the most profitable and the quickest to give you a return. Okay, so as an investor, you're not buying something for $500,000 plus your stamp duty. Okay, you only have a line for $400,000, so you've got immediate equity. So what happens to your deposit? You got no deposit. You get your deposit back. Okay, so your whole project sits on equity. Compared to buying established, where you need to find the $100,000 deposit, you can't use that $100,000 deposit. When you get it back is when you sell it. When you're going to sell it? When the time is right for you. That might be 3, 4, 5 years down the track. So that's money that the bank uses as security. Okay? In this micro developer model, you have your deposit back. The bank's not holding it. Okay? And the third option that we looked at was the buying off the plan, which is very similar to buying established with some minor benefits. You might be able to get it for a little bit cheaper than you could have buying an established property. And then the other one obviously is build to develop, where you have a lot more control. You know who's involved, you know who's running it, you know who's building it. You can drive past every day, you can walk onto the site, you can talk to the builder, you know exactly what's going on.